Okay, in this video, we're going to talk about the importance of consumer associations, describe the role and influence of consumers associations. This is topic 2.9. It's going to be relatively quick because that's rather straightforward. Essentially, there are three things that you should do. You should define what we mean by consumer association. Then you should be able to provide a few examples from various countries, including Switzerland. And finally, you should be able to highlight the main functions of those consumer associations, and if possible, give some examples in each case. So, definition. Well, consumer association, it's an organization, it's a group of people, and their common interest is to protect and promote the rights and interests of consumers. Essentially, to rephrase, the main objective is to make sure that consumers are treated fairly in the market, to advocate for their rights. We'll talk about the objectives in greater detail, to provide them with information so they know exactly the characteristics of the products that they buy. So yeah, it's quite broad. A few examples of consumer associations. For example, in France, we have UFC Que Choisir. In the UK, we have Which. In the US, we have Consumer Reports. And in Switzerland, we have the Consumer Protection Foundation, which is an English translation from the original name, which is in German, which is Stiftung für Konsumentenschutz. Amazing. And right, so what do those consumer associations do? The main roles. Role number one would be advocacy, which is basically protecting their rights and trying to defend their rights, to represent the interests of consumers by promoting like fair business practices, to make sure that businesses behave in a way that is ethical, and also to try to push some policies that are going to protect consumer rights. That will be mission number one. Mission number two, or function number two, information and education. So that's the idea that those consumer associations must provide some information to consumers about the characteristics of the product. Need to make sure that the information is accurate, that is unbiased. You know, sometimes advertisement can be biased. So consumer associations, they can make sure that the information they provide is objective. So this may include the publication on some studies or some comparisons of products to just help consumers to make better informed decisions. Could be the creation of educational resources, again, to make sure that basically the consumers are well informed and that their consumption decisions are aligned with their best interest. Could be product testing and review. Remember, this is I use the example of like the electric vehicles. When you have electric vehicles that just pretend that they have an autonomy of, let's say, 600 kilometers, well, those consumer associations, they can just check if that's accurate, just to make sure that the quality and the characteristics of the products as advertised are in fact accurate. So they can conduct independent testing because, of course, the companies themselves, they test their products, but there may be a conflict of interest, so they can conduct independent testing and evaluate the products to assess how safe they are, how good the quality is, and basically to determine whether they are value for money products, whether there is a good value. And then once they have conducted those independent tests, they can publish some articles, some reviews, which is, again, you know, of course, it's these two, they go together. That's usually stage one. We do the product testing, the reviews, or the research, and then we can publish some information that's going to help consumers to make the best possible decision. Another mission would be complaint resolution. like litigation, whenever there is some kind of issue between consumers and certain companies, those consumer associations, they can assist consumers in resolving disputes with businesses, because of course, if you are on your own as a consumer, it may be very difficult for you to be able to go against those big firms. But if you have the support of a consumer association, this can really, really help. They can, like those consumer association, they can assist you in the legal processes. They can provide some guidance on what your rights are and what your recourses are available if you want to go to court to file a complaint. We've already talked about advocacy, so this includes, of course, defending the right of consumers. I'll just write including political, which is really trying to push laws in favor, or laws or regulations that are in favor of consumers. So, for example, if it is believed that a particular product can be harmful to consumers, those consumer association can try to push forward some regulation that could ban the product. Or if certain products, or maybe banning is a bit too extreme, but if a product is potentially dangerous, the consumer association can try to push some regulation that will force sellers to publish information about the potential dangers of this product. I'm not going to necessarily give you one example for each, but make sure you think about one example you would like to share with the examiner for each of those functions. There are plenty of examples. Okay. Advocacy, including political advocacy, could be. This also includes the rights of consumers. Okay, we can campaign to defend the rights of consumers, the rights to have like good information on products, and to avoid situations where there is false advertisement. Could be. I think these are the key elements. The product testing can, of course, also be used to ensure that the safety of the product meets the standard. So we can monitor the safety of products, and anytime we identify some kind of an issue, a risk, we can raise awareness about the potential hazard of this product. Whenever there is a safety risk, those consumer associations, they can put some pressure on the companies or on the government to try to address those safety concerns, either directly by if the companies can directly address this concern, or through the government, if the government can set some regulations to reduce this risk. That's about it. I'm looking at my notes. Be financial protection. For example, to protect consumers against scams, like people who try to trick you, can do some illegal practices to rob you. So these consumer associations, they sometimes inform the population to just give them some guidelines on responsible financial behavior to warn consumers against those scams and illegal activities. Those consumer associations, they can try to campaign in favor of financial transparency. So to really understand for financial transparency. Could be, like I said, so advocacy really is the main one. I guess it could be political, could be social, could be environmental, of course. Those consumer associations, they can promote sustainable practices in terms of the environment to make sure that the products, the goods or services that are produced do not impose any damage on the environment. So by encouraging eco-friendly consumer choices. And finally, there is a function of networking. Of course, consumer associations, they are not isolated. They work with other organizations, like other consumer associations, could be non-NGOs, non-governmental agencies. There is by participating, by networking with other organizations, by making more friends, basically, this is something that can make them more powerful, so they can participate in international forums to address global consumer issues, and by collaborating with many other organizations, this can amplify the impact of consumer advocacy on political decisions and on the behavior of firms. So that's essentially it. In terms of examples, so advocacy, let's try. So this one we've done that. This one I've given you an example. A complaint resolution. You can give the example of the Volkswagen scandal. That's when they had their when it was found that Volkswagen cheated the system and was actually selling cars that did not meet the environmental standards. And so, of course, many consumers, they complained, and they were represented by consumer associations to support them in the legal processes. Financial protection. I don't really have any example in mind for this one, but you know that there are a lot of could be something at identify some phishing. You know what I mean by phishing? Phishing is like all these emails or text messages that you receive that ask you to, or you should click on this link, and you have received a parcel, or just click on that and you have gained some money. So there are a lot of illegal attempts to rob you. So this is a type of financial protection, or something like, oh, do not just consumer association can give you some advices on what you should do and what you should not do with your debit cards, for example, or when you use a computer to purchase goods and services, how to screen emails to make sure that these are genuine emails, networking. Do I have an example for this one? I don't think we really need an example for networking. We basically understand the idea that the consumer association can work with other consumer associations or other organizations to increase its impact. Product testing, we've done this one. Information and education could be, like we said, any articles that are published to inform you about the certain raw materials that could be potentially responsible for some diseases, or perhaps the environmental consequences of certain products. There are plenty of examples for this. Yeah, I think that's about it. Again, I find it quite unlikely that you will have a question that is going to be just that, because honestly, it's not much economics. It's a bit descriptive, but that's essentially 6 functions. These are the main ones. This one is important. This one is important. Break testing. Okay, I would say the 4 first ones, you must talk about them. Advocacy, information, education, product testing, reviews, complaint resolution. They are really important. The 2 last ones, if you have time, that's great. Otherwise, no big deal. But make sure you spend some time to really explain what this is about. And if you can, try to provide some example to support your points. And before, do not forget to define consumer association and to give a few examples from various countries. That's it.